something strange about Star Citizen. People quit it, people get frustrated with it, people uninstall it, people swear they are done with it. And then they come back. Not always in a week, not always in a month. Sometimes it is 90 days later, sometimes it is longer, but they come back. And I think I finally understand why. Star Citizen is one of the only games I have ever played that does not just feel like a game. It feels like a glimpse of something bigger. Something unfinished, something messy, something frustrating, but something that every now and then makes you feel like you're looking at the future. And once that clicks, it is really hard to let go of. So this video is not about pretending Star Citizen is perfect. It is not even close. This is not one of those videos where I act like there are no issues, no bugs, no performance problems, no weird design decisions, no moments where the game makes you question your own sanity. Because trust me, I know. For me, even getting to Star Citizen the right way was a journey. And I mean that literally. It took me around 2 weeks just to get the game running the way I wanted it to. Tweaking settings, learning what works, trying to understand what the game needed for my system. Trying to figure out why I felt off one day and better the next. Trying to get it to a point where I was not fighting the game before I even started playing it. That alone would be enough to make most people quit. And honestly, I would not blame them. Because in most games, if the barrier to entry is that high, you just move on. There are too many polished, easy to jump into games out there to spend 2 weeks trying to get one game to behave. And yet, people do it for Star Citizen. Why? Because buried under all that friction is a feeling that almost no other game can give you. For me, the first real breakthrough was not even some giant battle. It was not a huge payday. It was not some crazy streamer moment. It was something much simpler. It was a moment I finally got into the world and it started feeling real. The first time I climbed inside a ship and did not feel like I was just selecting a vehicle from a menu. It felt like I was entering a place. That is a huge difference. In most games, a ship is a tool. A thing you spawn, a thing you use, a thing you pilot from point A to point B. In Star Citizen, the first time it really clicks, a ship stops feeling like equipment and starts feeling like a space you exist inside. You walk up to it, you enter it, you hear it, you move through it, you feel the scale of it. You start realizing that it's not just transportation. This is your home, your vehicle, your workspace, your weapon, your shelter, your story. That's why it was one of the first moments where I started thinking, okay, I see what they're trying to do here. Then came the moment that really sold it to me. Getting taken on a tour inside and outside of New Babbage. Walking through the city, seeing the scale, seeing the architecture, seeing the way places connect. And that is when Star Citizen starts doing something very few games can do. It makes travel feel meaningful. Not because it is fast, not because it is convenient, but because it gives distance weight. You're not just teleporting between gameplay loops. You are moving through a world, you are seeing how the world is built, you're getting a sense of place. And once that starts clicking, the game starts feeling like a collection of systems and starts feeling like a universe in progress. That is a big difference. Some other games are really just gameplay lobbies with a good art direction. Star Citizen, at its best, feels like it wants to be a place. And that is what hit me. Then came the exploring. Planet, surfaces, different locations, different moods, different kinds of emptiness. And emptiness is important here. Because in some games, emptiness feels dead. In Star Citizen, when it works, emptiness feels massive. Feels like space. Feels lonely in the right way. Feels like the universe is bigger than you. And that feeling is rare. This is part of the vision too. Not just action, not just loot, not just mission markers, but scale, presence, atmosphere. The feeling of being a very small person inside a very large universe. And that feeling is powerful. Then there is the kind of moment only Star Citizen can give you. Taking a mission, being in a ship, and firing lasers from space down to the surface to mine. That kind of thing sounds small when you say it fast, but it's not. Because that is the kind of moment where the game suddenly feels like the future that was promised to us for years by sci-fi movies and games, but almost never actually delivered. You are not just clicking a mining node in some separate minigame. You're in a ship, in a world, in a chain of action that feels connected. And in those connected moments that make Star Citizen special. That is the word I keep coming back to, connected. The ship is not separate from the world is not separate from the mission is not separate from the economy is not separate from the fantasy. It all feels like it wants to become one continuous experience. And when you catch that for a moment, you can see the vision. And I think that is the real answer to why people keep coming back to Star Citizen after 90 days. It is not because the game is easy, it's not because the game is finished, it's not because it is the smoothest experience in gaming. They come back because you have seen what Star Citizen could be. It is hard not to wonder how close it is to getting. That is what pulls people back in. Hope, curiosity, momentum, the feeling that more citizens are coming online, the feeling that the machine is slowly becoming what it was always wanted to be. And that is a very different relationship than people have with most games. Most games are judged only by what they are today. Star Citizen is constantly being judged by two things at once: what it is now and what it feels like it is reaching for. And the second part is powerful. Because when people come back after months away, they are not just checking in on patch notes. They are checking in on the dream. And I think that is where the comparison starts making sense. Not because Star Citizen is literally Second Life, not because it's literally Ready Player One, but because it touches the same nerve. The old dream of a digital life. A place you do not just load into for a match, a place you inhabit. A place where your ship matters, your gear matters, your routine matters, your choice matters, your story matters. Second Life, for a lot of people, was not about gameplay in a traditional sense. It was about existing in a digital space, building identity, living inside a world, being part of something ongoing. And Ready Player One took the same dream and turned it into the ultimate fantasy. A fully realized digital universe where life, adventure, commerce, identity, travel, status, danger, and wonder all exist together. That is why Star Citizen hits people the way it does. Not because it has already fully achieved that, but because it feels like one of the few games seriously trying. And when you realize that, a lot of the frustration starts making more sense too. Because people are not just frustrated by Star Citizen the way they are frustrated by a normal broken game. They are frustrated because they can see what it could become. That makes every failure feel bigger, but it also makes every success feel more meaningful. And that is another part of finally understanding the vision. You start seeing the game in motion, not just where it is, but where it came from and where it's trying to go. Because if you only look at Star Citizen as a static product, you will lose the plot. The point is not just, what can I do today? The point is also, what kind of world is it becoming? And when the system starts coming online, when pieces begin connecting, when things stop feeling like isolated features and start feeling like parts of a living machine, that is when the excitement comes back. You start feeling momentum. You start feeling direction. You start feeling like this giant impossible thing might actually come together. Not overnight, not perfectly, not without pain, but genuinely come together. And that possibility is intoxicating. There are plenty of games with better polish, plenty of games with faster action, plenty of games that respect your time more. That is just true. But Star Citizen has something most of them do not. Ambition you can feel. Not just read about, not just hear in marketing. Feel. You can feel it the first time you walk through a ship, the first time you leave a city and fly out into open space, the first time you descend to a planet and realize there was no loading screen breaking the illusion, the first time a mission, a vehicle, a place, and a player interaction all blend into one seamless memory. That is why this game sticks in people's heads. It does not just give you gameplay. It gives you moments that feel like memories from a place that almost exists. And that is a dangerous thing. Because once the game gives you that feeling, you stop comparing it to games. You start comparing it to the future. For me, that is what finally happened. After the setup struggle, after the tweaking, after the learning curve, after the friction, after all the moments where it would have been easy to say, you know what, forget it. I finally had enough of those connected experiences that it clicked. Climbing into a ship, touring New Babbage, exploring planets, taking missions, firing a mining laser from space down to a world below, seeing how these pieces are trying to fit together. And I thought, okay, I get it now. I finally understand why people keep coming back. Because the vision is not fake. It is incomplete, it is messy, it is inconsistent, but it's not fake. And every once in a while, Star Citizen gives you a moment where that vision becomes visible. That is enough to keep people hoping. That's enough to keep people checking back in. And that is enough to make you uninstall and then reinstall later. So if I had to explain Star Citizen in the simplest way possible, I would say this. Star Citizen is one of the only games that makes people fall in love with what it is trying to become. That is why people leave, because the reality can be frustrating. That is why people come back, because the possibility is still magnetic. And once you finally see the vision for yourself, it changes how you look at the game. You stop asking only, is it fun right now? And you start asking, what happens if they really pull this off? The question is the hook. The question is what keeps people coming back. So after 90 days, after the setup, after the frustration, after the first real adventures, after the first moments where the game stopped feeling like a test build and started feeling like a universe, I finally understand Star Citizen. Not as a finished product, not as a perfect game, not as something everybody has to love, but as a vision. A messy, frustrating, ambitious, sometimes unbelievable vision of what gaming could become if somebody actually tried to build a second life in space. And maybe that is the reason people come back. Not because Star Citizen already is that world, but because every now and then, it lets you feel that it might be like if it becomes one. And once you feel that, it is really hard to forget. Let me know in the comments below. Have you had that moment in Star Citizen? That moment where it finally clicks? The moment where you stop seeing just the bugs and the problems, start seeing the vision? Because I think once that happens, you understand why people always come back.